Hello, listeners. You are listening to an exclusive bonus episode brought to you by a sponsorship from Marine. Thank you, Marine.
Thank
you for going to patreon.com/Totes Recall and saying that you wanted to executive produce an episode and for picking the movie that you wanted us to talk about, which is, I don't know, should I give it away?
Yeah.
I mean...
No. Find out after this musical intro.
30 seconds.
Yeah,
you
don't
impatient.
read.
Don't read the name of the file that
Look away. Close your eyes.
downloaded. Close your eyes. Keep listening.
Thank you, Marine.
Thank
You're
you.
the best.
Totes Recall.
Whoa, welcome to Totes Recall, the podcast where we talk about a movie we can't remember very well for any number of reasons. Then we stop talking and watch the movie while we're eating pizzas and or salads, and then come back. Now we're talking again, but this time we have seen the movie. What's
Look
changed
who's talking
in the talking?
again.
Look who's talking again, us. But our movie is not that. My name is Dan.
This is Molly.
I'm also Dan.
And I'm Beth.
And now I say the movie, and it is Driving Miss Daisy.
I was not prepared for you to wrap that up so quick.
Yeah,
Hey.
that was
I am a
Whirlwind.
professional podcaster.
I just had to like really just chug down a mouthful of eggnog. That's right.
no.
I'm a professional podcaster who drinks the thickest beverage in the world while trying to perform audio only.
I was so surprised by it that I said, this is Molly, like it was a question.
Molly?
Well, you're welcome. I was thrown because a movie was referenced, but look who's talking. In the time when I say my name, but not the time when I say the movie, but I recovered.
see.
Behind
You
the
did.
curtain, I was like, do I say the movie now? And then to myself, I said, no. You're a professional, you say your name.
Yeah, that was flawless. I mean, that was like the drinking a cup of eggnog equivalent of what do I say next at the beginning of the episode. Speaking of episodes, this is a bonus episode.
About Driving Miss Daisy.
Yep.
Thank you, Marine.
Yeah.
I have a personal story about this movie.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes.
Please tell
thing
it.
to know is that a good portion of this movie was filmed in Griffin, Georgia.
Wow.
And this is long before Georgia had the tax credits.
Yes.
They picked Georgia. I don't know if the story takes place there, but Griffin was a big enough downtown, but not too big.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did the thing where they brought in all the vintage cars and spent a long time filming. I don't know, maybe a week or two.
Is it
my memory?
Does the movie take place in a small town, or is it just they needed
It
a small
does.
town so they could fit in all those cars? Like, well, we got to store these cars somewhere, so
Yeah, we got
nobody lives here. We can
'cause,
fill it
like,
with cars.
It actually happened in a larger city away, and it was sort of maybe too hot there for old cars.
Nope.
The old cars
No,
would
it did
melt.
Yeah, they would
It did not
definitely.
Yeah.
Because the
So they had to
sun
put
is
it-
it feels like so close there
Yeah.
in that very, very hot city.
Longtime listeners will know that I'm constantly being baited by this hot Atlanta reference, which I find really disturbing. And I just want to say, as a person who spent most of their life in Atlanta, nobody says Atlanta. Please don't do it.
I heard it today. I just heard it. A native Georgian just said it today.
I have trouble with that.
Well, check the tapes.
Anyway, my grandparents lived in Griffin. So, yeah. So, you know, it was a big family outing to go watch the movie in Griffin
Were your
at the
grandparents
theater
in the
there.
movie?
No, but they probably knew people who were.
Yeah.
It was the kind of thing where, you know, the production company spends a lot of time there and a lot of extras.
I have a follow-up
Yeah.
question.
Sure.
Were your grandparents like mad at the people they knew who were in the movie because they wouldn't shut up about it?
No, I doubt it. They, just to give you a sense of how rarely they would do something like go out and see a movie or socialize with people. The movie they had seen before this had been E.T.
Wow.
which was years before.
How many years before?
Wait, in the theater?
That's such a good question. In the theater.
They saw E.T. in the theater, nothing else, then Driving Miss Daisy?
Yes, and both times it was because our family wanted to go with them.
Oh.
So for E.T., my sister and I had just gotten out of summer camp.
Yeah.
And you may recall, I think on that podcast I mentioned my grandmother's entire commentary after the movie was, that wasn't very realistic.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is not a realistic movie.
No.
And she had not gone back. Now, part of what to know is that my granddad was legally blind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So, the idea of going to see a movie wasn't necessarily top of mind anyway.
Do you think that's why your grandma's main commentary about E.T. was that it wasn't very realistic because she was trying to figure out how to explain it to your blind grandfather? And he's like, I don't know. There's a weird potato man. And
yeah, maybe that was just the preface to an entire summary that she was going to give to Grandpa back at home.
Yeah,
right.
I doubt it. No, my granddad is so cool or was so cool, and I'm sure he enjoyed the movies just fine.
Sure.
Like he had a great time, but it just wasn't something they would think to do on their own. And they probably wouldn't have gone to see Driving Miss Daisy had we not all gone with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was everybody. I think it was all of their kids and their kids' kids. So it was a pretty big crowd. That said, I'm having a really hard time placing this movie. I'm going to say sort of late 80s.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm going to say 88. I don't know. When did E.T. come out?
That's what I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Was that like 83? 86?
Yeah,
Are we betting
probably.
on E.T. also now?
No, that would help me so much.
Yeah, that would help ground our bets.
Okay,
I'm gonna
Molly's
guess.
bet. Yeah.
Oh, please finish your bet.
88.
Molly's bet for now is 88. Yeah.
For
I'm gonna stick
now.
with that.
God.
I'm trying really
How
hard.
to lock it in, Molly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm locking it at 88.
Okay.
Going into
Are you?
this,
Are
I
you
was-
locking it in?
I've locked it in.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And
We'll
that's fine,
see.
'cause I'm
Lockbox.
almost definitely wrong.
Let the record show for 10 minutes from now that Molly has verbally locked in this bet.
Gosh, I was coming into this recording thinking late 90s, and now I'm...
Late 90s?
Yeah, now I'm
Are you
really
kidding?
second-guessing myself with this 88. So I'm going to split the child?
What?
Ew,
Difference.
What a difference.
Wait,
Why did you
phrase are you trying to
93.
Yeah,
I
why
was
did
just
you-
thinking of things you split.
No.
I'm sorry.
It's a biblical tale, Beth.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the Bible.
Well, I
You heard of
think
it?
Hey,
I know about the Bible.
Okay, welcome to Totes Bible. There's a king and Solomon. No.
Solomon, yep.
Yeah.
Wise
King
king.
Solomon.
He's got the hair. Samson's got the hair.
Is this
Yeah.
the one where he's like, I'm
And-
going to cut up my kid, and then the kid...
like, I want the
because I'm
kid.
so dedicated.
No.
What?
No, that's
No.
Isaac.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential child harm in the Bible.
Yeah.
This is a
Anyway.
podcast about the movie Driving Miss Daisy.
Right, okay.
So we're not finishing Solomon. Okay. That's fine.
No.
Look it up. Hey.
Look it
Hey.
up.
Teens, read your Bible. But also whatever. Don't worry about it. Do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
I've never seen this movie, but I know enough about the movie that I am shocked that you thought it was a late 90s movie.
Okay.
Because I feel like late 90s, Morgan Freeman was already getting he's becoming a silver fox already. He's starting to get salt and pepper.
Is he not salt and pepper in this?
I don't think so. I feel like the art, the image, poster, whatever, I feel like he looks like a younger man.
Ooh, where does this fall in relation to Robin Hood Men of Thieves? That's what would help me.
Prince of Thieves.
Man of
Yep.
Thieves.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Thieves of the People.
There's Robin Hood, Men of Thieves, and Robin Hood, Prince of Tights. Those are the two movies. Yeah.
Molly's bet Jessica Tandy is also in this.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Remember who that
Molly.
is.
I have never seen this movie, and that's the one thing that I knew about it.
Oh.
She stole my
I did
bet.
not mean. Well, I guess we also know it's not on the AFI's list.
No,
That's true.
It's not. Yeah, my bet was going to be that Jessica Tandy and Morgan Freeman are in it,
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
and cars are involved.
Nice.
Okay.
Yes.
Cars.
Okay.
Plural.
Just
Plural
probably
cars?
the one car. For some
Here's
reason.
what I think happens in this
Okay,
movie.
yeah, I want to know.
I think Lady Daisy, Miss Daisy, is...
First name or last name, Daisy.
Ooh.
Oh,
shit.
first name.
What?
That's the South.
Okay.
We don't know.
You don't know about the South?
We don't know about that garbage that you're spewing out. Like we should be
just know
so
the weather.
ashamed that we don't know.
I don't think you should be ashamed. I'm just surprised.
Well,
Everybody calls everybody by the first name in the South?
Miss
Well, yeah,
first
you'd be
name.
like
Miss
Miss
first
first name. Not everybody, but it's a thing.
all right.
So, like, if I went over to my friend's house and they had a child, they would say, "Oh, Miss Molly is here."
But they wouldn't call you Miss Molly if they didn't know you very well.
Would they say good golly?
No, no one who's my friend would say
Christ.
that.
Anyway, Miss Daisy, whose name is Daisy something, apparently we've decided through no effort of my own, is a somewhat well-to-do older lady who is, for some reason, needing to go from one place to another. And to do that, she is driven by one Morgan Freeman character. Also, she's probably racist because it feels like it's one of those movies where it's just like, ooh, she's got to deal with the fact that this black person is her one means of doing whatever it is she's trying to do with herself. And ooh, he's like professionally and culturally obligated to just deal with it. And I don't even know what era does this take place in? I
like
wonder.
old,
I'm going to
but not that
say 50s.
50s, 60s.
I'm going to say 1950 something, Griffin, Georgia, or at least a town similar to.
Similar to, because I'm not sure it actually takes place in Georgia.
Okay.
I'm unsure.
Oh, okay.
I did just want to mention, I think she's reluctant because I think she had been independent before.
Oh,
In
and
some
now,
way.
like some. Ooh,
I think she might also be Jewish.
huh?
Oh.
All right.
And if she is, I have a lot to say about that in the second half. If she's not, never mind.
I'm sure we'll have plenty to say in the second half, regardless of whether
and
she's
then
Jewish
also,
or not.
I didn't want to skim over that the whole Miss thing, of course, has a lot of status and stuff baked in. There is a
Yes.
way that it's respectful, and there's also a way that it's really reiterating some pretty terrible norms from probably like slavery times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Most definitely.
it's pretty complicated. It'll be interesting to see how naming gets treated.
Okay, Dan's bet then, based on what Molly's saying, there is a scene where a charming Southern doctor tells Miss Daisy she can no longer drive because of some reason. She's got glaucoma or something. But he says it with like a charming drawl
Oh, sure.
and maybe like twirls his stethoscope around while he speaks slowly and describes her medical condition.
Is he sexy too?
I mean, he's like confident. I don't
He's
know if
confident.
he's... Yeah.
I just want to let you know you are building this on a house of cards.
Yeah, of
So-
course I am.
And also, your impression sounded just like, what's his name? So,
Robert Redford.
Oh,
no,
thank
from House of Cards.
Oh,
Underwood.
President Frank.
Spoiler.
Oh, sorry. House majority
If
something.
you haven't seen it, don't watch it.
Yeah.
Dan's take.
That's true. Kevin Spacey. Nailed it.
He's the one.
Yep. Oh, and Robert Redford, though, of course.
Yes, it sounded exactly like
solid
your
Robert Redford.
impression.
Classic Southerner, Robert
Yeah,
Redford.
yes, exactly.
As far as we know.
Known Southern doctor, Robert Redford. Ooh, I prescribe you a 2.5 hour cinematic experience here at my festival, whose name I, of course, know, and you know as well, so I don't need to say it out loud.
It's the same as a character from a famous Western I was in.
Oh, that makes sense. Anyway, and then in some way or another, they learn to not have as contentious a relationship because of shared experiences while driving, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I
say
feel-
shared discrimination.
Ooh, okay.
But that's a pretty bold House of Cards bet. So,
That was going to be very similar to what I bet that the movie is about. And I also feel like they're just going to get to know each other. And so they're going to see each other more as people rather than what they think of when they think of the stereotypes surrounding themselves. That's my guess.
I'm also going to guess, I'm going to bet that there is some real heavy-handed shit in this movie. Like, I feel like it's going to be at least a couple of scenes that are just like, hey, think about this right now, audience.
Molly's bet there's going to be a big score. It's going to be a lot of like Thick Williams treatment,
yeah.
telling us how to feel. Molly's additional bet, I wonder if Jessica Tandy's character dies.
Ooh.
Oh, and I bet she has good-for-nothing children.
Ooh, nice. I love that.
Or maybe great children. I don't know, but she has children. No, she doesn't. I don't know.
Well,
I'm not making any
if
of those.
she does have kids, they're not driving her around. So maybe she's like, I have to drive around in this car because my kids won't take me anywhere.
Yeah, and they're just like, oh, just die already so I can have your money.
Oh, no.
Right? But in a Southern way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to open a Southern store in the big city.
What is
What?
What's a Southern store?
Oh, we do Southern stuff.
What?
Selling hats.
Oh, I'm going to... Wow.
Oh, bless us and bind us.
Savannah's finest in New York City. Bringing up all the stuff you associate with that part of the country to the Northerners.
Oh, die already, Mom. I gotta sell some peaches to hipsters.
Yeah, that definitely happens.
Yeah.
Random story about the South in Peaches.
Okay.
That a lot of prisoners from Germany, like German prisoners during World War II, came over and were held in the South and did things like work on peach farms.
What?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know about that because it seems really strange to imagine a bunch of German POWs picking peaches, but that happened.
Yeah, it is. But it's not, like, when you say it out loud, I'm just like, yeah, that sounds like a thing we would do, right? Like, just take a bunch of Germans that we could have easily kept confined wherever we captured them, but instead, let's, not like we have, just inspired by who knows what. Who knows where they got the idea. Let's load them into a boat, bring them across the Atlantic Ocean, and then have them harvest our crops for us.
Yeah.
Well, it's harder to escape. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But there's also lots of stories of like friendships and relationships developing between
The
Southerners
German
and prisoners.
POWs?
Yeah.
Oh, like with people who live there.
Yeah.
I thought you meant just like the POWs really got to know each other.
Oh, yeah.
Doing forced
they had that
labor.
long boat ride.
Yeah.
Sure.
Ugh. Yowza.
I apologize. This podcast is about driving Miss Daisy.
Yes. None of that will come up, certainly, while watching this movie.
We'll see no Germans. Is that your bet?
Ooh.
Zero.
Doubt it.
I don't know. There might be a
Post-war
German.
Germans.
Who knows? I do think we will feel uncomfortable at least once, maybe the entire time.
Nice.
By the white savior kind of narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to... I predict it's going to be uncomfortable
Yeah.
to watch this movie with 20/20 eyes.
My guess is that he is kind of like a wise old black man stereotype.
Oh, yeah. Wisdom character for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is one of those movies that, like, I think it won statues. I'm pretty sure it got statues.
I think it's statues, yeah.
Yeah.
Got some Oscars.
So, like, it's definitely one of those
But
movies.
so did Green Book.
Well, right. It's definitely
Yeah.
one of those movies where it just sort of feels like maybe it got a lot of hype because it was just like, oh, good. It's like talking about maybe some very important issues, but in a way where me, a white person, doesn't have to feel too bad about it.
Yeah.
Which
it
I
might
think is
still be
something...
centering the narrative on the white people.
Which is, like, certainly not a rare thing. Like, it's not like... I mean, I'll be curious if this movie is, like, particularly egregious compared to any other movie. You know what I mean? Because there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
Hollywood. Hey, Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Listen up,
Stop it.
Hollywood.
Just stop it.
Stop
it. Now is your time to rebuild better. Build back better. That's what Hollywood's saying right now.
Yeah, that's the Hollywood
Take
saying.
all of the money that you saved by forcing all of your filmmakers to just let their movies be released on streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to pay them because maybe this is partially a dodge because you're all blood-sucking monsters.
Yeah. Take all the money you saved by putting stuff on Quibi where you didn't have to pay union wages because it's not long enough, allegedly. I don't know if that's true.
Ooh,
I heard it.
I could buy that.
and
But Quibi
invested
failed, right?
into
Yeah, it did.
invested into writers and directors and filmmakers of color.
Yeah. Do all that.
All right.
Easy. Solved.
I have seen the movie Driving Miss Daisy and don't remember anything else.
Nice.
I think, other than, I believe, there is a scene where Morgan Freeman has had it up to here with Miss Daisy's
Sorry,
needling.
Dan, this is an audio podcast. We're up to where?
Eye level.
Okay, thank you.
Because Miss Daisy is not nice to him or anyone. I think she's not nice.
She's a crab.
Crab? Grump?
Crab. She's
Grump
a crab. She's a real crab. And she pushes him too far, and he stands up for himself. But it's like, it's a powerful scene, and you see he's torn between like not being pushed down around anymore, but also like it's dangerous for a black man to speak up to a white lady, as well as an employee to speak up to an employer.
Right.
And I think Morgan Freeman crushes. I think Jessica Tandy crushes.
Yeah,
I
I
think
will
those are
latch
safe
onto
bets.
that big
Yeah.
crush.
I mean, it. Like you said, it won some statues, so I bet the acting is good. But there's some good acting.
But who knows? Sometimes you watch these movies and you're just like, really?
Yeah.
Like,
This movie?
Sometimes you do that.
yeah. Are there any other characters in this movie?
Great question.
Like,
I
is it
mean,
literally just different scenes of them in a car?
It's just a one-act play
Oh, okay.
of them driving
Yeah.
from home to the grocery store.
Yes.
Blackout.
Okay, I was going to say, where are they driving? Grocery store?
Ooh, are we
Pharmacy,
taking bets
right?
on locations?
Yeah, if she dies, I'm betting it's like to her appointments. Like she's sick and she needs to get to some appointments, and maybe her good-for-nothing kids aren't going to drive her, so she needs to hire a driver.
Because they want her to die so they can open up.
Savannah
Brooklyn Peach.
town. The
Yeah.
Brooklyn Peach, yes, of course.
So they
Yeah.
can bring the southern touch of Georgia to
Yeah.
New York City.
Yeah.
Southern hats for everyone.
Southern hats?
Yeah.
Hot hats.
What's a
Hot southern hats.
what is
Oh,
a
that-
southern hat?
I mean, there's a city in Georgia that's famous for its hats.
Oh, I
No.
see. Of course.
No.
I apologize.
No, Hatlanta is also not a thing.
I mean, I just heard a native Georgian say
No,
it today.
you did not.
so-
Me
You
too,
most
actually.
certainly
Yeah,
did
me,
not.
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
It's more common than you think.
Yeah. Okay, so we think we already said there's going to be a sexy southern doctor. There's going to be a good-for-nothing child.
Yeah.
I think there's probably someone else who works for her at the house.
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe Morgan Freeman and that person chat.
Have a chat.
Okay.
Ooh, speaking of two people chatting, do we
Ooh.
think this movie is going to pass the Bechdel Wallace?
I do. I'm going to be Beale Baggins bold.
Yeah. I feel like she probably also has like a house servant that's going to bum us out. And that'll be a lady with a name.
I feel pretty confident she's not going to only talk about men.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I could
It'll
be
be like
wrong.
this.
Soup
Cake
is
sucks.
cold. Oh.
This cake sucks.
Do we think she
I'm going to
is...
make a really bold bet that
Yes.
the line, this cake sucks,
Uh-huh.
is very much in the film.
Okay,
I love
great.
it. I love
I'll
it.
double down on that.
Do we think there are like other misses that she interacts with? Like, is at one point it's just like, driver, take me to tea with the other ladies.
Oh, and we'll
maybe.
play not
Bridge.
euchre. That's the Midwestern Game of Kings.
What?
What's the Southern Game of Kings or Queens or Monarchs?
Probably bridge, right?
Canasta?
No one knows what you're talking
no.
about.
I don't think that's as common as... I
Pinochle.
think there's some bridge, but I don't think that's
Cribbage.
the way people socialize. I think they more socialize over tea.
Dominoes.
Or... Nope. Okay.
Chinese
anyway,
checkers.
fun. Nope.
Mahjong.
Connect Four.
Yeah.
So she's connecting four with her other ladies,
Yeah.
and they're talking about the sexy doctor.
Yes. That's a man,
Yeah.
maybe. Probably.
Probably.
Who are we kidding? It's the whatever
Movie.
decade and a movie. Yeah.
We love film.
So I just want to point out that two of us have seen the movie,
Yes.
but not for decades.
Yes.
And 2 of us have never seen the movie.
Yes.
And yet we are still making bets.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you saying?
How this podcast works.
I know, but I just feel like, come on.
You want us to shut up.
No, I
Okay,
just mean
I'll shut
like,
up.
Molly says everybody shut up.
no, oh, come on.
Beth, cut everybody else out.
Yeah.
Molly, you can do the monologue you prepared. I'm sorry we've been
Yeah.
stalling for so long.
And action.
Y'all, stop.
That was it?
That was it. Y'all stop.
I think my headphones.
That's a powerful
headphones
piece.
cut
That
off.
is a powerful piece of theater, honestly.
Do you think that's also a quote in the movie?
Y'all stop?
Y'all stop.
Maybe.
Yep. I'll make that bet.
How many y'alls do you think are in this movie?
I don't think as many as you think they're going to be.
5 y'alls.
Is she too fancy for y'all? Is y'all?
She's pretty fancy.
I think
Not
she's
a
too
fancy?
fancy. But I bet somebody says it. I'm saying 5. 5 y'alls. Write down 5.
We'll know what that means later. Just the number
Write
5.
it down, Dan.
No, write down 5 y'alls.
I
Don't
wrote
just
it
write the
down.
number 5.
I wrote 5 y'all. I
Okay.
didn't put the apostrophe in. Sorry. I'll know what it means though.
Molly's bet 0, all y'alls.
Oh, sure.
So all y'all's.
For another peek behind the curtain and a peek into our friendship, Molly has been for years our guide and our mentor when it comes to the proper usage of y'all, all of y'all, and I can't remember if there's another variant.
Nope, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the best too.
Oh, but there are more, you're saying?
There's
No,
inferior
I mean,
ones?
those are the best, most useful to Southernisms.
I see.
There are others, but they're not as useful.
But they still have y'all in them?
No, not necessarily. Like, I think a useful one is that's too much sugar for a dime, but that just doesn't come up very often.
When does it come up? That's amazing.
Rarely.
Time. This like you're being overcharged for something?
No, it's when something's being overly sweet.
Oh.
And just like bless your heart, it can be in a sincere way or in a less sincere way or a less kind way.
Okay, dance bet. There's going to be a Southernism in this movie, and we will all have to ask Molly what it means.
It's a good bet.
That's a pretty good bet.
I like it. Molly's bet. Most of the writers and producers of this movie are white.
Yeah, it's a good bet.
Very good
I'm going to
bet.
say all. Take it
All
up.
y'all.
All y'all.
All y'all white.
Producers.
All y'all producers.
So white. Hashtag.
Great. I'd love to be wrong. Some
Sure.
bets. You're just hoping to be wrong. Most of the Bechdel Wallace
See, that
ones.
sounds like a Southernism right there. Some bets you're just hoping to be wrong.
Molly's bet. I will slide into a Southern accent for most of the second half.
Yes. I'm excited.
This is great news.
I'm excited for it.
Maybe. I don't know. I tend to slide into it as soon as I get home.
Mhm.
And by home, I mean Atlanta.
Right. Not.
Not like my house.
Right.
Although I was on the phone
That'd
with
be amazing.
a couple very good friends of mine, and they were making fun of my O's.
Mm.
They're like, "Oh, listen to that Minnesota."
Yeah.
I was like, shut up.
Look at you.
It happens,
In,
Welcome.
Get some bars.
right?
I'll
Eee.
get some bars and
Oh, let me put that in a big,
hot-ish,
big.
Big
milk.
That was the most shocking thing when I moved here.
bag.
People have a totally normal conversation.
Yeah.
You're checking out.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden someone will say, "Do you want a big?" And I swear to you, like the first few times, I literally, like, it was like the sound dropped out completely. Like I couldn't understand. I would say, "I'm sorry, what?" It's like, "You want a
yeah.
big?"
We were merciless in roasting our friend who was from Minnesota in college for his pronunciation of dragon.
Bagel.
Dragon. It's a dragon.
Dragon. Oh, it's a dragon. I'm pulling an orange from my backyard tree, and I'm going to ride my
no, Molly, we offended
longboard
the
down
Minnesotans.
to the Pacific Ocean. And I'm just going to wear a short sleeve shirt all year long.
Cowabunga, dude.
Cowabunga.
I got a football scholarship to Harvard.
Molly, I thought you were on my team here.
Nope. No way. Coastal
No way,
elite, you
Jose.
coastal elite bastard.
Jeez Louise. Oh, jeez.
Oh, gee. Oh,
Jeez.
oh my. Oh, my
Oh,
goodness.
Oh, jeez.
Jeez,
Fun now.
How should we rate this movie that we've been talking about the whole time?
Yep.
Driving Miss Daisy?
Exclusively.
Molly.
I'm going to give it a cowardly 3.
Okay.
3 what?
And can I explain how the podcast works?
Yes.
First, you introduce a rating scale, and then we ask for clarification on it if we want.
Okay.
Amazing. Are you still just
Okay.
Are you just putting so much effort into not going into a Southern accent right now that you're just confused?
Really focused.
Like,
Yeah. And then
I think we're going to have to do this based on how many all y'alls.
oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So is okay. Here's my this is what I need clarified. Are you saying like the utterance of all y'alls, or are you saying the thing that all y'all is defining?
oh,
Like, are all y'all's sold at a Southern store?
No. And if you see any sold, then you should know those are not authentic.
Okay.
No, the utterance of all y'alls.
Okay.
The sincere utterance. And they're very rare, so you should be,
The sincere
treasure
ones
them.
are rare, or just any utterance of it is rare?
Just any utterance that makes any sense.
I see.
You rarely use an all y'all.
Okay.
But when you need one, you
It's
need
there.
one. Yeah, it's
Just
like,
like,
all y'all need to be quiet.
Oh, okay. So
That's
usually when
what
it's sincere, it's to like get some control of the situation.
Yeah, it's like if an Atlanta public school teacher is fed up with her 5th grade class.
If they're up to eyes, they're up to the eye.
Up to
with
their
you.
eyes,
Yeah.
not the eyeballs, just the eye levels,
Yeah.
because you're coastal elites.
Yes.
wait, the coastal elites are in the classroom?
No, I was switching to make fun of you, Dan, but in a ribbing fun way.
Yeah, she's not mean or judging you based on where you grew up.
No.
But also, screw you, California boy.
Well,
be
Cowabunga.
nice.
As we all know, Dan starts the rating.
Yes, and as we all know, Dan is always panicking because we are doing this remotely, and he can't remember how it usually goes because it's usually based on our seating arrangement around a table. I haven't seen this movie. I'm concerned on one level it's going to be cringy just because it's a sincere movie that won awards, which usually means it's like too much. But I'm also concerned it'll be cringy of just like 2020 eyes about like a very potentially complicated situation with some undertones and some thoughts about just our general history as a nation. But also I think Morgan Freeman will charm. Freems will charm. I bet Jessica Tandy will also charm. I'm really looking forward to that sexy doctor.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be optimistic and say 4 all y'alls, because then I have room to either go above and beyond or drop into a Molly Chase level of pessimism.
Great. Beth is next.
Nice. Hey, way to go.
Thank you.
I'm going to say, let's see. I also have not seen it, but it's probably pretty good because of the acting and that it's awards. There it is.
No, it returned a lost dog. I mean, it won rewards.
But I do think that there are going to be some things in it that we're like, in 2020 eyes, we're going to look at this movie and not like that part. So I'm going to say like 3.5. I'm going to say I'm going to like it more than average, but not that much.
So is that Molly, is that 3 all y'alls and then a y'all? Would that
Yes.
be an appropriate
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for clarifying.
bifurcation of the point scale?
Yep.
Great. It is my turn now. Gosh, I don't know how to feel about this movie, but I'm afraid to give it a cowards rating. Unpack that. But I'm going to do it anyway. 3. I think people will charm. In addition to the potentially hard 2020 gays issues, it also feels very long and like it's mostly talking. which I'm not
It's
against.
no speed.
There might be a sweet.
No
There might be a sweet car chase in here.
Do you think they have sex in
if
the
there is
car
a-
at the end?
Ooh,
If there's a
wow.
car chase and they have sex after the car chase, 5. But I don't think that happens. Who knows? 3. Molly.
Oh, last minute bet. There's a run-in with a police officer.
Ooh, I'm already uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be slightly bolder than I was before and say 2.5, all y'alls, out of sheer pessimism and worry that this is going to be just really uncomfortable. But with some hope, which is where we get the 0.5,
Yes.
y'all, that it's going to be better than I remember.
Did you want to? Do you want to just quick change your bet on the year that it was released?
No, I'm sticking on 1988, but I'm not sure if we got everybody else's year.
No, I don't think
I
we
think
did.
I just kept interrupting.
I think we
so-
got too into razzing you about locking it in. 89.
Fair.
90.
Ooh.
Great.
I already bet 93, as everyone remembers. If we're rounding out bets, Dan was the only one to bet on what year it took place, and he said 50-something.
Yeah.
Oh, I doubled down
Yeah,
on
I
that.
agree on that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say 40-something to
Yeah.
Oh.
Bold.
Spice.
Love it.
Love it. Ooh, late breaking bet. Molly's going to love the costumes and all of the settings.
Oh, cool.
Great.
And with that, we're going to press pause, go watch Driving Miss Daisy, and we'll be right back.
Hey, listeners. This has been the first half of Totes Recall, soon to be the second half of Totes Recall. But we'd like to take a quick moment to once again thank Maureen for being the executive producer of this bonus episode of Totes Recall. Maureen did the smart thing that all of you should do, which is to go to patreon.com/TotesRecall and become a patron at the elite level that allows one to determine our very lives for a few hours.
Wow.
And I have to say, this elite level is really a bargain.
I mean,
To
it
the
is a
point-
bargain. Like, most elite levels in society are like for jerks and psychopaths.
Marine's not that.
Maureen is not that. Maureen is a perfectly normal, probably, I assume, like any sort of general census would dictate them as middle class or working class, and not at all some psychotic billionaire just like throwing money at podcasts to do their whim.
Sure.
Because
Again,
Maureen,
Mackenzie Scott, if you'd like to just
oh yeah,
throw some money our way, $1 million a month, we
Yeah.
will shit talk your ex-husband.
we will
Jeff
do a
Bezos.
bonus series, not even a bonus episode, a bonus series.
Yes.
Shit talking your ex-husband Jeff Bezos. Anyway, Maureen is not Jeff Bezos. Maureen is very nice and supportive of this show, and we thank Maureen so much for allowing us to do more of what we like and what I assume Maureen likes, because Maureen is a patron.
Ah.
Patreon.com/Totes Recall. Go there. Be as cool as Maureen if you can. That's right. Shotsfired.com. And now back to Driving Miss Daisy.
And we're back. We just watched 1 hour and 36 or 38 minutes of Driving Miss Daisy, a not so subtle movie set in Atlanta.
Oh.
Yep.
They're in Atlanta? They're
Yep.
They're what?
They
I'm
are
sorry?
in Atlanta.
They're in Atlanta?
They're in Atlanta.
They're in the A. Am I right?
Sure.
Did they call it that in 19-whatever to 1973?
Oh, no. It was 1948 to 1973.
73's
like
peak hot Atlanta years.
everyone was
Am I
right.
right?
I mean, that was probably the last time it was cool to say Hot Atlanta.
So how come they didn't say it?
Boom.
think
Right
it's
at the end of the
implied.
movie,
Because-
it should have been like Dan Aykroyd being like, "Oh boy, I sure do enjoy taking my employee with me to my mama's." We're jumping ahead of ourselves. My mama's retirement facility in Hot Atlanta.
She's right over here.
Now I'm gonna go charm the nurses, just like my mama told me.
Oh, Lord. You just dipped right into Forrest Gump. But yes. Otherwise, it was spot on.
Thank you.
So yeah,
It was hard to hear Dan Aykroyd's accent, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's hard to hear. We were all right.
We were?
I said 40 something. It started in 48. Everybody else said 50 something. It had some time in that year.
It had time in there.
Nailed it.
Crap.
You know, speaking of time, I hope we don't breeze past our award-winning segment.
Oh, you think we have
60-second summary.
for it? How much time do we need?
60 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
That much time.
That's correct. 6XM. I'll do it. I can do it.
Great. And go.
Okay, we start in the year 1948. Miss Daisy is a lady. She's well-to-do, and she tried to drive herself, but she backs her car up into, I guess, the neighbor's yard, and it's a whole thing. Her son is like, the insurance won't let you drive. You need to deal with that. She's like, I'm independent. Screw you. And he's just like, oh, mama, I'm Dan Aykroyd. And then he hires this man, Hoke, who I guess he knows through an employee of his textile mill. Hoke
More
starts...
than 30 seconds.
What?
More than 35 seconds.
Oh, my God. Okay, so Hoke drives Miss Daisy around, but at first she doesn't want to be driven around because she wants to still be independent. And then he drives her around for like 30 years, and they become friends, but also not because they're employee and employer. But then she's like, you're my
10 seconds.
best friend after like 20 fucking years. And they're both wearing old person makeup. And then he feeds her a pie, and we're supposed to take that to mean that everything's great.
Done. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, pretty good.
Thank you.
I think you nailed it.
Scrambled
Boom.
at the end, but got there. Got
A little
to
bit of
the-
I think I got...
zone.
Yeah, I definitely got in the weeds on the transition from Miss Daisy is driving a car to Miss Daisy is being driven in a car. Like that transition, I definitely kind of stumbled over.
That's the premise of the movie, right? You got to establish the transition
Got
in
meat
driving.
to it. Yeah, it's got meat to it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's the
For
movie.
sure.
So
We did it.
Yeah. And I mean, it tackles racism
sort
in
of
some ways.
I think I would argue that it maybe just sort of like lightly shoves at racism.
Yeah, it like tips its hat in like a stern way.
Yeah,
Curt nod to racism.
Yeah, like a
on the
curt nod
drive-by.
as racism like goes by, like I can do anything I want. I'm completely in control. You can't stop me. So rather than tackling it, it kind of just like, I don't know about you.
Which
shape
is
up.
interesting because one of the great moments in the movie from a racism arc perspective is when Miss Daisy goes to a dinner by herself. She does not properly invite Hoke to join her, where she hears MLK speak. And the part of the speech they chose is the one where he points out that it's not so much the bad people as is the good people who have silence or are complicit.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, this movie in some ways is kind of the milquetoast version.
It felt like there were definitely moments in the movie where it felt like they were like sort of nodding towards it of just like, yep, this sure is a problem, but like didn't want to go too hard, right? Because like it seemed like it didn't want the movie to be like quote unquote about race, right?
No, it was about
But, like-
clearly a friendship, two friends becoming best buds and like being vulnerable with each other and telling each other secrets.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was like a nice movie about old people learning to care about each other. If you took out all the like historical context of America over the time period it went to,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it didn't completely ignore it, but yeah,
No.
it didn't do enough or didn't ignore it enough to be like, okay, it's not at all about this.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it hit the middle. Like especially, I was thinking that another good racism. Remember scene was like when they get not pulled over, but the cops find them on the side of the road
Oh, in Alabama.
Alabama.
eating lunch in
Yeah.
Alabama, and it's a tense scene.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that the minute they are driving on a country road and they pass the state line for Alabama, my palms were sweating
I know.
for
I was
them
just like, oh, boy.
immediately.
Because
Oy.
it's tense because of how the cops are, and they sort of then it's like the cops are aggressive but not that aggressive, and it kind of just resolves, and then the cops, say like some mean things as they drive up.
Yeah.
About them being a black man and a Jewish lady.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, see, look, the movie's like, look, the cops are bad for both these people, but then it's never addressed again. Like,
Well, but I will disagree a little bit on that.
okay.
Because when there's the bombing of her synagogue,
Oh, sure.
and he tells the story of his best friend's dad being lynched, and she really struggles with that connection, right?
Right.
Like she gets really mad and is not wanting those to be the same thing. And I don't know, I felt a little bit conflicted. Of course I did. People should feel conflicted about this kind of thing. But like, on the one hand, the screenwriter who is Jewish and who based this off of his grandmother, I think, and her relationship with her chauffeur, I think was trying to be like, hey, look, Jewish people are discriminated against as well.
Yeah.
But also it's like these still aren't on par. There's still a million things that she can do that Hoke cannot do.
Right.
And so they're not actually equal. I mean, I thought the movie did a good job of trying to show her struggle with that she didn't want to have that in common.
Yeah.
And like, I thought it did a good job of her saying, I'm not prejudiced, and then doing the most racist stuff. Including, man, I could go my whole life without seeing another storyline about someone thinking someone stole from them and then they didn't.
Yeah.
Bless us.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like maybe that was just so common, but honestly.
I mean, thinking that your help stole from you was a very common thing. Yes, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It also feels like this movie was written in the 80s. Like, there are other, I don't know. There was a lot about this movie that I was like, wow. And I don't know if it felt unoriginal because I've just seen variations of it many times since 1989 when this movie was made, or if I don't know if they were just it just to me didn't feel like a particularly fresh take.
Yeah,
Except I'm not an Oscar award-winning take, but I guess so.
I mean, it is
I guess
30
it did.
years old, so it's
Yeah.
not going to be fresh. But yeah, I feel the same way. It's like I don't. I was a wee laddie in 1989, as I always say. And so I don't. It's hard to put it a little hard to put it in sort of historical context. I mean, I've seen a lot of film from before and after because I've watched 100 movies.
Wow, 100 whole movies?
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. It just want people to know.
Yeah.
But like maybe was this the best we could do at 89?
No.
The Academy thought so, right? What did it win?
Yeah. It won, or no, it was nominated. I mean, I don't want to dig into WikiFacts, Molly, if this was like part
Oh, that's
of your
okay.
research.
No, it's fine. Go right ahead.
A lot of things. Like, I think all three of the actors were nominated. I think the screenplay was nominated.
Wait, when you say three, do you mean Dan Aykroyd?
Yes.
What?
Oh no,
That's crazy.
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
This is
Not. I mean,
hard.
they're like, here's the award for Dan Aykroyd being like pretty good for him. Pretty good for Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
Award goes to.
I mean, it was nominated. He was nominated, not,
Dan Aykroyd is like what Bob. He's trying to do what Bob Odenkirk has done.
What do you mean?
Go from like comedy goofball to like, whoa, this guy's
Like just being a
doing
guy? Just being a guy
he's
in a
good
movie? Yeah.
character actor now. Because like every time Bob Odenkirk shows up, I'm like, he did a good job, and also like, Mr. Show's in this movie.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that moment in Little Women is
Oh,
like
sure.
the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
When he's like, "My Little Women."
I was charmed by it. I was charmed by his sideburns. Hashtag Beth hates little women. Beth hates all women.
Yes, Beth hates.
Hey. Unfair. I did not like that movie, but I did laugh out loud in the theater at that moment.
Their father had returned after being away for so long, and you felt that time was to laugh.
It was a Mr. Show sketch. Like, he walks in and he says the title of the movie, My Little Women.
Beth hates
That was
Black-hearted.
perfect.
Black-hearted. Anyway,
Wow.
Dan Aykroyd is in this movie. he is the son that we thought might be a bad child who just wanted her to die for her money.
I believe Molly bet there would be ne'er-do-well children, no children, or good children.
Yes.
And so I guess you failed because there is a child.
Good child. Good child.
Who was like, fine. He's not even that. He's good enough.
I mean, he's good in that he's like trying to help her, but also let her live her own life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and his wife and his mom don't have a good relationship, so it's not like it's like he's trying to help but also run a business and family is not helping,
right,
etc.
But I will say he accomplished maybe my favorite part of the movie and probably Molly's least favorite part, in which he took off his hat and then waved it over his face to indicate how hot it was in the city of Atlanta.
that's a classic move for that.
Classic
city.
hat hot move
Call that
for
the
the
hat
old Lana.
Or hat hot in the old Lana.
Yep,
That's a song. That's
a Southernism if I've ever heard one. Hat hotting in the old Lana.
No.
Oh, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm hat hotting. Oh, in the old Lana? Oh, yes, you know it.
Yes, you know that.
Yes, you know that, my good man.
Yes, you know that, my pretty.
Also, his name was Booley, which I am unclear if that was a
Yes.
nickname or his actual name.
Molly?
I think it was, well, it could have been either. It was either a family name or a nickname.
It has to be a nickname,
So either
right?
he was like the third or fourth in a long line of people who had the same name, so they come up with Booley because like a cousin could only say Booley, or it was a family name.
Like a family
Last
name
name
like
has first
Great
name.
Grandpappy Booley?
No,
Or
like
what do you mean?
somebody's last name is Booley, and you make
Oh.
that the kid's first name.
I see.
That's pretty common.
Okay, I gotcha.
Or, like if it were a girl, you'd be like Mary Booley. It would be a hyphenated name, like,
I see.
I don't know, Mary Stewart,
So-
Mary Virginia.
So Booley's not a standard Southernism?
No, not to my knowledge. There were lots of standard Southernisms, though. Can I read you my list?
Please.
Oh, okay.
I'd love to know.
I have two as well. But
I felt that you have two.
I have two that I was.
Which-
I wanted to
Which
ask
two
you
did
about.
you get?
Okay.
Yeah, go
These
ahead.
are the ones that I was like, ooh, I'll write down a list, and then I gave up halfway through. But the first one was, "You're a doodle, Ma." And I was like, I kind of know what that means, but not really.
I have no idea what
Okay.
that means.
I also yelled at my TV, "You're a doodle," because he was being so condescending to his mother.
Yeah, but she, at that point probably kind of deserved it, right?
Was she a doodle? I guess this is a question.
Yeah, that's
for
the
Molly.
question. Was
What is
Miss
doodle
Daisy a
and-
doodle?
And was Miss Daisy a doodle?
I actually cannot speak to that.
You got
I
stumped.
don't know.
By Booley.
Wow.
Yep. Booley stumped me with a doodle.
Yeah. And
That's
then
a
the other one.
Southernism.
Yeah. The other one I wrote was, "Ain't got the sense God gave a lemon," which I understand but was charmed by.
Oh, good.
That
yeah.
was
Lemons
no,
are notoriously
like-
stupid.
Yes. Lemons, if you don't know, this is a fun science fact. Lemons are scientifically proven to be the stupidest fruit.
Yeah.
I mean, limes are basically PhDs compared to lemons.
Yeah, right? And limes are pretty dumb. Like, oh, I can only grow in certain conditions. Oh, and I'm not even that pleasant to eat, even though my whole purpose is to get animals to shit me out somewhere else.
Yeah. Is that a
Wow.
lemon or a lime?
I think that was a lime. So then imagine how dumb a lemon sounds.
Oh,
Oh, I did have
I
one more.
will-
Sorry, Ron.
Go ahead. Sure.
Scubba Doo, Scubba Hey,
Oh, yeah.
which was on the
That was-
marquee of
Yes.
Oh.
something. Movie
I
house.
was so excited about that because I had no idea what it was, and I desperately wanted to know what it was because there was no other signage. It was just
There
the
wasn't.
marquee, and it didn't even. I don't think there was even a sign to say what that building was for. It just was a marquee that said "Scubba-doo, Scubba-hey."
So my instinct is that was meant to be a movie theater marquee,
Okay.
and that was meant to be the name of a movie.
Oh,
Whether or not that is a real movie that exists, I'm not sure. I think also the playwright wrote something like that. That was the title of one of their plays, so it might have been a little nod to that.
Scubba-doo.
I don't know. what I will say is about that moment where they drive to the Piggly Wiggly, which is one of the very, very Southern references that gets made a couple of times.
Piggly Wiggly?
Piggly Wiggly.
They got those in the Midwest.
Yeah. Okay, settle down.
I would say as a Southern place for people to go shopping, it's sort of like people will say Coke instead of soda, Piggly Wiggly instead of grocery store.
Whoa.
Oh.
But I will also say that at least when I was growing up, you'd more likely go to a Winn-Dixie, a Kroger, or a Publix.
Would you still call it a Piggly Wiggly?
No, I wouldn't,
Oh.
but other people might. But like in a more rural area, or if you're going to the beach or anywhere outside of a city center, there was most likely a Piggly Wiggly. It's sort of like the Hardee's or the Arby's of grocery store chains.
What? What do you mean?
Like there are some towns that are really small, and so they have a Hardee's.
Uh-huh.
They don't have like a Burger King or a McDonald's.
Uh-huh.
Because Hardee's is like, that's where we're going, where no one else is.
I see.
Same with Piggly Wiggly,
Ah.
is my impression. And if I'm wrong, man, tweet at me. Tweet at us.
Piggly Wiggly, if you still exist as a brand, which I am unclear about, tweet at us.
does.
Piggly Wiggly, yes. And also, there's all one hashtag. Okay. Piggly Wiggly, yes. And also, we cater to rural areas more than others.
I
Great.
know
That's a
we have a
long hashtag.
listener. I know we have a listener and patron who lives in the last town that I saw a Piggly Wiggly in.
Uh-huh.
So they should write in and let us know if that town is still big on the pig.
Should we?
Right?
Big on the
Big on the pig.
Oh, that's
Should we?
a good hashtag.
Should we name this person, or are they ashamed,
I
or
don't
they're
wanna-
afraid they're going to
I
get
don't wanna
doxxed
dox
because
their-
oh, it's the
their
one place with a
Wiggly
Piggly
life.
Wiggly, the
I do-
last Piggly Wiggly.
I do want to quickly breaking news alert.
Mm.
Beep 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 beep
Beep,
beep
beep,
beep
beep,
beep.
beep, beep, beep,
I looked up Scudda Who Scudda Hey or whatever that is, and it is a real movie
Okay.
that came out in 1948, and it had Marilyn Monroe in it
Huh.
and a young Natalie Wood
Huh.
as bit
Fair.
parts.
Oh,
Good to know.
why is it
good
called
idea.
that?
Eh.
I don't know. I have to read this
All
whole
right.
thing.
All right.
It's not worth it. Well, I will just finish the story. When they go to the Piggly Wiggly,
Yes.
the area of town they're in that is in Atlanta, and it's in an area called Little Five Points, which is kind of a place where there are a lot of music venues, and two of those buildings are music venues that you see. One's the Variety Playhouse, and I don't remember. I think it was Horizons Theater at one point before it moved. And then that Piggly Wiggly, the building they made into that, when I was growing up, I think it was a clothing store. But it was amazing to watch because, of course, they had transformed these really familiar buildings into these, 1940s, 1950s referential places. But you caught like just a little bit of the residential across the street. So there was a big school building across the street from that has since been turned into condos. And further down, it's all been developed since. And so it was really kind of mind warping to see vintage within vintage.
Yeah.
So it was a movie that could only have been made in around the 1989s because, yeah, it's so different even like 10 years after that or 20 years. That was kind of cool. Like, I was insufferable. I'm glad you guys weren't sitting next to me because I was like, that's, look.
That's got to
It's
be
just so
weird, though, to just see
Yeah.
familiar neighborhoods in a random movie you're watching. I do not often experience that, having been born and raised in the Minneapolis area. Although, if you watch the movie adaptation of Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five, his wife
hasn't?
dies in a car accident near the house I grew up in.
Wow.
Spoiler alert. Does she die?
Fun.
I don't know. She gets into a car accident near our house. I'm pretty sure, unless I am completely misremembering what movie we were watching.
That would not happen. Not on this podcast.
No, certainly not.
But yeah, there was so much Atlanta in this movie, and
Nice.
tons of Griffin too. And I realized they must have filmed in Griffin because of the textile industry.
Oh.
So
Is there
used
like
to be,
a big ass there's a big ass thread factory in Griffin.
Yeah, there used to be. Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because the South had a lot of cotton production, and a bunch of cotton mills came out of that. And I guess until manufacturing started moving to China and other places, but like North Carolina and Georgia and other places used to be giants in textile. And even when I was growing up, there was a sock factory in Griffin. And it was just a fun thing we would do when we were visiting for the holidays, is we'd go and buy socks at this factory that was just like...
Was it like Willy Wonka? Was it like
kind of was, but for socks. Like, it was all kinds of socks, and they were made in that building. It was just, but I think for them, they were just trying to do direct retail to stay open.
Right. But like,
anyway,
did you get to... Was there like a little like park made out of socks or something, or like a sock river that you could travel down?
Eat a sock and then turn into
a sock.
Yeah, it wasn't quite that magical.
And then a mildly threatening man in like a colorful sock costume came out and like did a little song and dance for you.
Willy Sonka, yeah.
Willy Sonka.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Wow.
Come with me and you'll see some well-darned insulation for your feet in hot lantern.
Let's put on these socks.
Socka, locka, sockity-doo. Don't eat the socks or you will be one too. Socka, locka. All right, I'll stop.
Oh, man.
Call us, Tim Burton. You're going to do another one?
I think Tim Burton's going to remake a movie he's
But
already
with
remade.
socks this time?
Yeah.
All right.
It sounds really fun.
Yeah, Charlie and the Socklet Factory.
Yep.
Trademarked.
That's ours now.
But I realized how old I am, though, because for the first time watching
35.
the movie, I was so excited to see the mill behind them. Like, you know, those scenes where characters walk through and there's a bunch of stuff happening behind them,
Yeah.
like, you know, it's a big like typing pool or it's a factory or whatever. Man, I dug that so much. And it was very cool to watch like time pass and to see how the mill changed over time too.
Mm-hmm.
Big props to the movie for that.
Yeah, they really...
I found it interesting.
I really wish they had... I really wish Booley and Hoke's last conversation before they go to visit Miss Daisy at the end, I really wish it had taken place on the factory floor where we could see some cool robots like spinning.
70s robot socks.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Oy.
This movie passed the Bechdel-Wallace test in the first scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Good job.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like
Daisy
one of the very
says,
few.
Like,
Heading out.
Ida, what was her name?
Yeah.
Idella?
Esther Roll?
That's the actor.
But Idella is
Idella, thank you, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Idella, I'm going out. And Idella says, yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Right.
Nailed it.
Wow.
And it passes many more times
Yeah.
with various characters.
We had wondered if she had some nice old lady friends that played a
she
game,
sure does.
and
Oh,
we
she
guessed
sure
a bunch
does.
of games. I might have said Mahjong, and Molly was like, no one plays any games in the South. That scene won't be in the movie. Shut up,
Yep.
you're an idiot.
Yep. I remember that. I remember.
You stupid lime.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, they play Mahjong more than once.
Yep. That was
They
their
did.
game of choice.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked. So it shows what I know about elderly Jewish ladies in
Yep.
1948.
Yep.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it does show what you know about that. Which is that they don't play Mahjong. But they do.
I got
As a
excited.
woman.
I don't know anything about how Mahjong works, so like I got excited the next time they were around a table and kept saying something about like a number of dots. And I was like, maybe they are playing dominoes. No, it's still Mahjong.
Oh.
Yeah, there's some matching involved. Introduction to Mahjong is one of the classes I covet in the rec catalog that comes quarterly, whatever.
Oh, for the
I've played
continuing ed program?
Yeah.
Nice.
I've played it online, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't know the first thing about setting it up
Yeah.
like as on a board.
Yeah.
Is it even on a board? I don't know. They're tiles.
Yeah, I think you just played at a table.
This movie involves Dan Aykroyd playing a businessman and Morgan Freeman,
Yeah.
who I would
Yeah.
say is a handsome man.
Morgan Freeman's a handsome man.
I mean, he was in a
also-
lot of like old people makeup for most of the movie, so it wasn't maybe as obvious.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, you had said that he wasn't a silver fox yet, but I feel like in the first scene he's got gray hair. Is that true?
I mean,
Do you
he
think
does.
He dyed it gray?
Yes, because that's why I sent you guys that picture from
Oh yeah,
the two of them at the movie premiere, because I was like, I can't imagine he was already a silver fox. That has to be hair dye. And lo and behold,
salt and pepper
in the beard,
his
yeah.
beard? Yeah,
in the beard, yeah. But like, I'm saying like 90s is when he started, I think, just go like full on, like all the way fox, silver fox. I don't know. I haven't been following Morgan Freeman's hair journey, so
Apologies, Mr. Freeman.
yes.
We hoped / bet there would be a sexy Southern doctor in this. No dice.
Nothing.
no.
The
I don't think there was
insurance people take away her car. Do they?
No, he said that she's not going to be able to afford car insurance.
Yeah.
Essentially, like there, and so he's like, you can't drive anymore.
I
They
kind of
basically
don't
know
buy
him
it. I think it's an excuse.
You
to
think
get
he
her
just
off the
didn't want to
road.
deal with it?
Yeah.
Well, it could be. I mean, she did like put her car in reverse and like not know how to get out of reverse, so or stop the car, put the brakes on. Like I wouldn't want a family member driving if they did that either.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
That's
and people weren't that open to women drivers in general. You know what I mean?
right.
Ugh.
Do you think Booley was like, now's my chance to stop this travesty, finally?
Well, no, I could just see him having a hard time to convince the old fellas at the insurance company
Oh,
that
sure.
his
The old-
mama
good old
could
boys
still
down
drive.
Yeah, I mean, if he just brought the right hat and waved it in the correct rhythm over his face to relate to them, I bet it would have worked out. but-
Yeah, that's another thing this movie could have been about, and sort of was, but wasn't enough. Was like how we treat our older generation as they age. I was thinking about that a lot, and it's like I don't know. I think for me, this movie was sort of about too many things and about none of them in the end,
Agreed.
and it bummed me out because like we could have seen. I think that's a meaty thread to follow of like dealing with your parents aging, and like now you have to be the caretaker.
Right.
And what does it mean? And then also for the parent, what does it mean to have sort of like your freedoms starting to be taken away, like
Right.
driving? And she kind of, I don't know, I guess she's sort of crabby, is how we see her deal with it. But like,
Sort
it's-
of.
I mean, she's really crabby.
She is the most crabby.
She's a real crab.
But I
Just
think
like,
she was already a crab.
I mean, it seemed like she was just
Yeah.
very opinionated and very
Yeah.
like,
And
yeah.
so stubborn.
Yes, very
I
stubborn.
did like how they grounded her in her whole like I grew up on Forsyth Street, and how for her that meant Forsyth Road, and how for her that meant she could never be rich or
Yes.
prejudiced,
Right.
which I think is actually one of the most prescient veins
Yeah.
in the whole thing.
That
right?
felt like the most insightful part of it, right? Like we were talking about how like it seems like it's almost but not quite touching on a lot of things. Like some of her dialogue seemed to be like the most like aware and insightful of what the kind of stuff that this movie is orbiting around, where she's like, I've never been prejudiced, but then is like talking about how they are such trouble and they, like when she's worried about the
yeah.
can of salmon or whatever they got eaten.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think I also did enjoy when we're talking about sort of the dynamics, especially as people get older, is and this has been depicted in a lot of movies, but the dynamic of black people being able to say things that white people can't say, but only within this very constricted band.
Expand on that. What do you mean?
Well, so for example, Morgan Freeman's character can say, yeah, you're rich.
Right.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I see what you have. What are you talking about? You're rich.
Yeah.
No white person would say that to her,
Right.
right?
Right.
Not even her kid would probably say that to her.
Right.
He can say that, but only because he's suitably deferential in every other conceivable way.
Yeah.
And so there's this very narrow path for the oppressed side of the societal dynamic to be truth tellers.
Right. Right.
And like but it's so tenuous, and it's just so like the complexity and the ability to mess up one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
Is really.
Well, that was like Idela's whole character, right? Like her whole character is just like, I'm gonna just say these very blunt things to you and to your face, but also I'm always in the kitchen making you food. So like, it's not really
she's
like she
earned
has
that
actual
right after being deferential in every conceivable way
like she's
for the
never
long
really
enough period of time.
Right. She's never really shown like actual agency in any way other than just
Yeah.
being like, I can say whatever I want. Anyway, continuing to prepare all your meals.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And I thought it was interesting that they touched on that with Hoke a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's also what made me so tense when they drove into Alabama.
Yeah. That.
It's because I was like, oh man, if Hoke says the wrong thing,
Right.
I don't think he will, because he wouldn't have survived, like literally probably to that point.
Right.
But I don't know. I guess in that way it was, I don't know. I hate how this movie didn't come out and say very much, but also I appreciated that it was a little bit subtle in the way that it handled things.
But that's my concern, though. Is like I can't figure. I think that was why that was what I was trying to parse out, and I think that's kind of what we've been talking about. Is like I can't figure out how much of it is subtlety and how much of it is just like complete neglect on the part of the filmmakers, right? Like how much of it is them just not even considering certain situations that Hoke is being put in, right?
I don't know how you could not think of it, though. Right?
I don't know. They talk. Okay, how about this? There's an entire scene where they're talking about how a synagogue got bombed, and like I guess I don't know exactly what year it happened, but like she's like, "Oh, is anyone inside? Is anyone hurt?" And it's like, "Oh, he didn't say." So did this happen before or after that church got bombed and killed like 4 girls, like 4 black girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like that kind of stuff. It's like just if you're gonna, I think that's what I think that's kind of what we've been talking about. It's like if you're gonna go there. Like, you maybe have to, I don't know, like, I think that's the struggle. It's like, yeah, like, you don't want it to be, like, just beating it over the head with you, but then you also don't want to give it too much credit, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's what I felt like I was struggling with this movie. It's just, like, I don't want to give it credit for, like, nodding towards these things because it's still not really critically looking at this central relationship, right? It's still just sort of presenting these two people. It's like, look at these two quaint old people, and they're charming, developing friendship, which was like there were moments that like just from the performances it's like very touching and sweet, but at the same time it's still like he is her son's employee for like 30 years. He is still like providing for her in ways that she didn't even ask for, like even at the beginning, like when he has nothing to do, he's just like goes out of his way to like try to do things for her, which sort of felt like ugh.
Although also he's just looking for something to do,
which I
lose
get.
his job.
Well, right, but like, is he going to lose his job? That's the thing. Like, they didn't. That's what I mean. Like, they don't really touch on that. Like, it's just presented as just like he's just a folksy, nice guy. You know what I mean? Because like, at no point was Dan Aykroyd like, you better earn your keep. You know what I mean?
It's like there was a description of the dangers, but never any actual danger.
Yeah. And like what made me start thinking about this is like when you mentioned the Alabama thing again, because like there's this whole thing where it's like, oh, we made the wrong turn, we're like 30 minutes back, and there's this moment where like I honestly couldn't tell if they were deliberately trying to nod towards like the concept of sundown towns or not, or if they were just being like, wow, they sure are on the road a long time, and now he has to pee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's this moment where like it seems like the sun's starting to go down and they're both uncomfortable, but like I couldn't tell if they were like just uncomfortable because it's an awkward situation or if they were nodding towards the fact that probably Hoke's in his head is just like, oh fuck, like if we don't get to her uncle's place by whatever hour, this could break bad real fast for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out if the movie was trying to acknowledge that or not.
I kind of thought it was when she's like kind of dabbing her neck because she's like sweating in the back. Like they are both very tense.
Yeah.
But then she's like, they probably made me crab cakes or whatever.
Right.
Crab.
Yeah, crab.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, oh, she's just stressed out because she's gonna miss this party. But I had that same feeling. I thought of Lovecraft Country. It's on HBO.
HBO Max, a great streaming service for premium content. Check out all your WB movies for all of 2021. HBO Max, call us.
I know it was like a very different tone, but it
Yeah.
did have like a similar vibe to me where they're like, oh my God, the sun is going down.
Yeah, but in that one, like in that show, like they are literally being chased by people,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like a
That
sheriff
scene
like
is,
literally
like, the
says,
scariest thing
like
I've ever seen.
a sheriff literally tells them he's going to murder them if they don't get out of town.
Yeah,
so
it's
like,
terrifying.
so like, and I'm not saying the movie had to go that far. Like it has that tense scene with the cops, but even the cops are just kind of like, ooh, we sure are prejudiced, and then it just moves
Yeah.
on. Because
Yeah.
that's where I thought it was going when it said they have to turn around. It was like, oh fuck, they're going to drive by those cops again.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah, it
so
was
too.
like
But-
a long description of prejudice rather than watching characters you love go through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though they did kind of go through it,
That's-
but
yeah.
like in this very surfacey way. I don't know
Right.
how to describe like why, because I feel like we're unhappy in both directions, and that seems
Yeah.
unfair.
It does seem unfair, but also I feel it.
Yep. But also, like, maybe that's why, like, movies with this kind of dynamic get criticized so much. It's sort of just like, well, when you're trying, like, when you're telling these stories, like, you can't. I think that's probably what, I mean, again, like, I can't really speak to it directly because I'm not black, nor am I Jewish. So, like, whatever this movie's intentions were, like, I'm coming from a completely naive point of view. But I think that's why movies like this get criticized so much. It's just sort of like, you aren't like whenever you do a movie like this. So you're, I don't know. I think the problem people have with this movie is these kind of movies is like it's talking about something in a specific time or a specific period or even like geographical area of the country. But like because it's still just trying to tell like a specific story with these specific characters that you have to like, it doesn't acknowledge like how truly awful it was, right? Like just I don't know. Like I was impressed that I was surprised that they had like a synagogue get bombed. Like I was actually more explicit than I was expecting. But again, like it was just. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the solution is other than just stop making these kind of movies. Because, like, I don't know if you can successfully talk about how truly awful it was without just making a movie about it being that awful. And then at that point, even people are like, why do we have to make those movies anymore, too? Because it's like, then we're just making people, like, think about this, like, well, specifically making black people, like, either relive or just think about this trauma, like, unprompted by watching a movie. I don't know.
Well, and then how much is just kind of lazy storytelling? Like, I
Yeah.
understand why you would just have your Miss Daisy character hear about the bombing from Hoke while sitting in traffic in
Right.
a play.
Right.
That makes a
Yes.
lot of sense.
Right.
But in a movie, like, there is a lot more of a visceral punch you could give, even if absolutely no one's hurt or anything else. But it just sort of felt like they were like, well, it's less expensive this way,
Yeah.
and we get the idea, and the main thing is that Hoke tells his story.
But
You
why
know?
is that? And then that bothered me too, though, because why is that the main thing?
Yeah.
Like, why is that the solution to that sequence where it's just like, oh, he's telling the story about a lynching. So, like, I guess it sucks for everybody, but it's like, I think you touched on that before, Molly, where it's like, yeah, but it doesn't suck the same.
Yeah.
You're right.
Like,
Because the movie is ultimately about Jessica Tandy, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And so that scene is about her getting a little more knowledgeable about, oh, we both have struggles, and like maybe life is hard
Right.
for black people, which is not.
Well, I don't think that's it, though. I think she knows life is hard for black people. I think it hasn't occurred to her until that moment. She has not felt herself in the same boat as Hoke.
Mm-hmm.
She has felt herself enshrined in the safety of white supremacy. Not that that's something she would describe or
Right.
feel,
Right.
right? And so she sees no commonality and wants to see no commonality where it's very obvious to Hoke. That part, actually, that scene, I thought actually got to something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't have a lot of visceral punch because she's just hearing about a thing and you're seeing a traffic jam.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the problem is that the movie, I think the problem maybe I had with it is that then the movie goes on for another 20 years.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like that scene literally ends with her just like, I'm not crying. Don't talk to me. And it's just like, okay. And then it's
Yeah.
like 20 more years of them slowly becoming closer and her like slowly becoming less prejudiced. But it's still like her becoming less prejudiced is her being like, all right, stay out here and listen to this man that's trying to liberate you from America's oppression while I go into this fancy dinner.
Yeah, I like honestly the one of the bigger issues I had with the movie is like, I feel like their friendship is not really, it doesn't feel like I don't really believe their friendship. I never see them really as friends as much as employer and employee. There's no status shift. I feel like if they were friends, like it would be she was higher status and he was lower status. But I feel like there's not really a status shift in the movie where they're like equal.
Until the very end.
But
Until
they're
the
not
very
equal,
end.
though.
But
Even
even
then
at the
they're not
end,
equal.
he's feeding her. Like, he's still taking care of her. And there's not a moment where she takes care of him necessarily, except for when she teaches him how to read.
Oh, Lord bless us.
boy.
And
That
gives
was
him like
hard.
gives him like an old book that she used to write. Well, first of all, she calls her students idiots, which I was like, oh, very good teacher.
Yeah.
And then she just like teaches him in the most condescending way possible. Like, what, but, what does that sound make? I don't know. I had a major issues with that
Yeah.
scene. And then she gives him a book later to help with writing. And she's like, I used to use this with my students, but it's just something she had laying around the house.
Right.
So I never really felt like, I kind of wanted her to have more changes in her life because of him, if that's what they were going for. But it really felt like, it's like, look at how this white woman is like helping this black man be better. He can read now. And now he's reading the newspaper.
And he's pointing to each word slowly, even though he's been able to read for years at this point.
Yeah, he still is using this method.
Yeah, it's like, it's just one of those things where if I get the intent, I kind of can kind of understand the intention of it, and like it's not like it's one of those things where it's like the intended message isn't inherently bad, but it's like the context within that, around that message, that makes it problematic, and in a lot of ways just straight up racist, right? Like not like aggressively racist or like antagonistically racist, but just your run-of-the-mill normal American racism.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I was also, it's another area that I would have liked to see more or less. I thought it was like it seemed like an interesting exploration of like, I feel like I've never seen Jewish people in the South in a movie before.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, oh, what is that experience like? And I still don't know from this movie. And it seemed like there was something there to like, her son is kind of like leaving his Jewishness behind him and like adopting all of the sort of mainstream Christian trappings, maybe just to do business better. It's not, I don't know why. It's not clear.
Because he married a Episcopalian.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's definitely a status thing to it too, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I am also not Jewish, so there's probably stuff I'm not picking up on it, and I'm a dummy on a podcast. But I would have, like, I felt like, ooh, I could have locked into that theme, and it just didn't seem to explore it as much as I wanted to. I don't know.
One thing that it reminded me of is how my grandmother, who grew up in pretty desperate poverty and pretty isolated, was genuinely wary of people who were Catholic or even Methodist. And she was a Baptist. Mm-hmm. And it was that narrow a band that she socialized with, right? So it made her nervous that there were Catholics who lived next door. Just like literally nervous.
Yeah.
So the idea of a Jewish
what if the
person was
Pope came by? Like it'd be,
and it was just way more pronounced than I think we have room for. I spent part of my childhood in Memphis, Tennessee, which has a very large population of Jewish people. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting how that affected the culture there. And I think a lot of people don't think about the South as a place where Jewish people live.
Right.
But then in other places, like I went to a synagogue in Valdosta, Georgia, and I attended a service that
Georgia,
had,
the Soviet Union, or Georgia, the state of...
No, Georgia, the United States of America.
Just
state.
checking. It sounded a little like it could have been a Soviet...
No, it's right on the Georgia-Florida line. And there were maybe 12 people there,
Mm-hmm.
right? But like they were having a service, right? It still existed, but
they built
were,
a building for it, so there's clearly
yeah,
a need.
a tiny building.
Yeah.
Like there's a need.
Mhm.
But yeah, it just, I think to me, just the idea of being both part of a white supremacist culture
Mhm.
and part of a oppressed minority culture, all in the same vein, and kind of the anti-Semitism that would come out. Like, oh my gosh, I remember I had, I was a debate nerd, and one of the schools that we went up against quite often,
like you participated in debate. You didn't like follow it like a sport.
No.
You were
Yeah,
involved in it.
I was
Okay.
involved in debate.
Okay.
And the school that we were up against the most was this very ritzy private school that I hadn't realized was Christian, in part because a bunch of the debaters were Jewish, and they were talking about how a bunch of Christian parents...
Wait, the
had
debaters
written-
from the private school?
from the private school.
Oh, okay.
They were talking about how a bunch of parents wrote letters saying that the school needed to return to its Christian roots, and that they had sent the letter to all of the parents, even to parents with, last names like Schwartzman or whatever.
Right.
And I remember being like, I sort of laughed along with them, but I was like, oh, Jewish people have different last names you're supposed to recognize? I didn't know that.
Right.
But also this racist thing happened to you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. So anyway, the point is, what is the point? There was a point in there, and Beth, if you could just insert it later.
I mean,
I
I'm
would
sure.
really appreciate that.
Listen, I'm sure you made your point as well and as perfectly centered as Driving Miss Daisy made its many points. Yeah, and I feel like I don't know. Like I feel like we're dragging on this movie a lot. Like it was certainly like well made, right? Like it wasn't like what like my wife said something to the effect of just like, oh, I thought this was going to be like I thought this was going to be worse or more egregiously uncomfortable
Yeah.
going into it, but like she's like it was fine. It was
Yeah.
but I mean it's
The two main actors were really great. Like
Yeah.
they both were excellent in their roles, and Dan
Yeah.
Aykroyd was fine.
fine.
And
He was
the
a- yeah,
music
he
was,
was also, like-
the worst.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Before we get into the music, I do want to make a special nod to Esther Roll, because she like appears fourth, I think, in the credits.
Okay.
And I felt like she really held it down
Oh, man.
and did a much better, Lord bless us, a much better acting job than Dan Aykroyd.
Who did she play?
Idella. Ideally, oh God.
Idella.
Thank you.
Ideally, Adela.
Yeah, Idina Menzel.
Dina, Adele Dazeem.
But let's get into the music.
Oh man, yeah. When
Hans
I like
Zimmer
literally,
score.
literally as I said, it was well made. In my head, I was like,
Do-do-do-do-do.
except for that music.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Do 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 do. Pew 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 pew.
Yeah,
pew,
that's
pew,
it.
pew,
That's the
pew,
sound.
pew, 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 pew,
It just
pew.
sounded like you were getting on a, I don't know, one of those steam wheel boats.
Yeah.
What are they called, those boats?
See,
A steam wheelboat?
Paddleboat? Steamboat?
Like a riverboat?
yeah,
Yeah, like a river
Yeah.
boat.
yeah, like just I
like
think
a
you
Mark
just-
Twain boat.
Yes,
Yeah.
like a Mark Twain boat.
Do-do-do-do-do.
That's
Do-do-do-do-do.
I think honestly that is part of the reason I was so critical of a lot of those kind of like acknowledging but not really acknowledging all of the like problematic elements of that time period and that area and just that corner of American culture, because all the music made it sound like this was just like a silly romp of two old people just having, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like the music
at
made
one-
it seem like a Seinfeld episode. It was just like, it's just two hyperverbal old people driving around.
Comedians in cars getting coffee.
At Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, but then it would be like then it would be the equivalent of like if George and Jerry got pulled over by like anti-Semitic cops who like were clearly threatening them. Yeah.
That is the best point. That is so true. Hans Zimmer, come on.
What are you?
Also, I swear to you, the Downton Abbey theme is in the middle. Like when they're driving through Alabama, go back and listen to the soundtrack. It is Downton Abbey.
Okay. You hear that, Julian?
All right.
Yeah. You stole from Driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Who's Julian?
Julian Fellows, The
Did the music for that?
No, he made the show.
Oh.
Well, apparently he's a big Driving Miss Daisy fan because I'm telling you, it matches up really well. I will try to make bonus content
Please
that
do.
demonstrates what I'm talking about.
Maybe he saw
Oh.
Driving Miss Daisy and then called up the composer for Downton. I was just like, oh, this is what I need for my rich people in the early 1900s show.
We're just going to touch on it just a little bit.
Yeah, we're not
Mostly it's about
towards it.
relationships.
Just nods towards it. Just
Even
like
in
this
we
movie's
got
nodding
classism,
towards some...
not
What?
racism, but we
Yeah.
also have racism.
Oh, and this movie also has classism that maybe is also not touched on as much as it could be.
Oh, things are changing.
Ooh, I'm so
Social
mad
mobility.
at Matthew. for
Oh, I'm
leaving
going to
the
murder
cast.
him in a car accident. Spoiler alert for series 3 or 4.
Oh, I didn't see that far.
Oh,
It was
well,
like season 2.
was it? All right,
Maybe
whatever.
season 1. It was early.
That Matthew?
Yes, Cousin Matthew.
Oh, dear.
He wanted to
Oh.
move on with his career
the
and
actor
was very
wanted to move on.
successful. So
He
good
wanted
for
to do
him,
Beauty
but
and the Beast.
probably, and like all the other shit he's done. He's doing well for himself.
Yeah.
Anyway,
For him.
what were we talking about? The music.
The music.
We're talking about the movie Driving Miss
Driving Miss
Daisy.
Daisy. We bet there would be 5 y'alls and 0 all y'alls.
How'd we
I
do?
counted 2 y'alls before I stopped remembering to count them. And I didn't count any all y'alls.
I don't think we got to 5, honestly. There were 0 all y'all, so that part is
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't recall hearing a lot of y'alls.
Can I go through my list of Southernisms that we did hear, though?
Oh,
Yes, please. Are we allowed to stop you and ask what the hell they mean?
Can we
If
guess?
it's not obvious.
Absolutely.
Should we guess? Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Does it need a theme song?
Oh,
No,
sure.
I'm just wondering, what do you mean guess?
Like, just
We're
say
gonna
the
guess what they
Southernism, and then let's
we'll
guess.
translate it into...
Yeah, we'll translate it into dumb Midwestern speak, and you can tell us if
Oh.
we're right.
Okay, well, a lot of these are going to be obvious.
All right,
so,
we'll see.
Okay.
We're
We'll
pretty
see how
dumb.
obvious.
Game
We're
again.
real limes over here. So.
All right. Emory, Spellman, Avondale,
We,
Ambrosia.
Wait, are you going through the whole list?
are these
Yes,
different
I thought
ones?
you were going to
Oh,
stop me.
I thought,
Wait, I thought
those
they were
all one.
phrases.
Are those
Okay.
foods?
Emory.
Start at the beginning.
Okay.
Okay.
Item
I'll
1.
just go through my list, and if there's something that seems unfamiliar
Emory.
to you,
Number
and
1.
not
I already don't
obvious,
know what you're
yes.
talking about.
Yeah.
Is that a school?
Really? Oh, Lord. So Emory University, and it's also a hospital. So at the very beginning, it talks about...
Good job, Beth.
You're lucky you're
Thank
not
you.
at Emory right now because of the car wreck.
I think that the
Well, that's
hospital
just the
part.
name of
Yeah.
a place.
Yeah, is that a Southernism or is that
count.
just a Atlanta fact?
Oh, okay. I should be clear. I don't mean a Southernism like a quaint thing for you to translate.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's what I thought.
I also
Well,
thought that.
why would... Okay.
Keep going.
Well, we don't have to do that. Let's
no,
just cut out the
no,
segment.
too
It's
late.
dumb.
No, it's
Let's
not.
leave this in.
Get- Go.
Fans love it when we yell at each other.
Oh, we're so mad at each other. Molly, go. What's the second one?
So this is just a list. And if there's anything that is of interest to you, stop me.
Okay.
Okay.
Spellman.
No idea.
What is that?
Spellman College.
This is
That is
also a
club.
school?
Are
What?
these all schools?
Are they all schools?
No.
Okay. Number 3.
And I wrote them down in no particular order. But you know what, Spellman?
No.
Oh my God. Spellman is a women's college that is a black women's college and one of the earliest ones in the country.
Is that where his granddaughter was?
Yeah.
Oh,
She's
okay.
teaching at Spellman.
Teaching biology.
Got it.
Oh,
Yes.
Cool.
And do you know the men's college that is sort of the brother
Spellwoman?
school?
Spell women.
Morehouse.
Oh.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Historically black colleges and universities.
Mhm.
Heard of them?
I mean, I've heard of
My
those,
last
yeah.
thing was
Not like the
just being hilarious.
specific names, though.
All right. Ambrosia.
Oh, that's
Is that
the
a drink?
It's like
No.
it's like a bowl of goo. That's like a
Yeah, it's goo
like
with marshmallows on top.
marshmallows and like maybe some sort of fruit, right? It's like fruit goo.
I mean, that's pretty close. It's orange sections,
Uh-huh.
typically with coconut, which is why...
That's why she's
that
like,
lady
oh, we
was
don't have any
so obsessed.
coconut.
Yeah, you typically would and maraschino cherries.
Okay.
I
But
don't
it's like
the
a
sound of it.
dessert. It is delicious.
I believe in the Minnesota we call it ambrosia salad because
Oh,
everything
interesting. Is there any lettuce or anything?
No, I think it's still just the same goo.
No, like
Oh,
a fruit
it's-
salad.
Yeah, but it's
Okay.
like barely fruit. It's mostly goo.
Ew. I
Is
don't
that
like this
marshmallows?
goo.
Wait, is the
making
goo
that
like
up.
a jello? Like a gelatin?
Wait, Molly, list your version of ambrosia again, because maybe I'm thinking of a different thing.
Sectioned oranges.
Yes.
Some people, sectioned oranges with coconut and maraschino cherries for decoration.
So it's just like a bowl of coconut shavings and oranges?
Yeah,
Like sweetened
it's
fruit?
delicious.
Okay, the ambrosia salad is something else then.
Some people put raisins in it, but I think that's disgusting.
I apologize. I am thinking of a different thing. Ambrosia salad is just a pile of goo, which is probably just Jell-O and other shit.
Well, my grandmother
Most
used to
things in the
make
Midwest are just ultimately Jell-O and
Jell-O
other
salad.
shit. So.
Yeah. Okay, that's probably more like it. Azaleas.
That's a
Is that
flower.
Flour.
Yes.
But why is
Very
that?
Nailed it.
good. Just ham-handed in there. Oh, you could have. I've just been tending to your azaleas.
Why is that a
Oh,
southern
put
thing?
these
though?
azaleas on the because azaleas are just
Are they
like
just everywhere
very,
down there?
very Faulkner, very
Oh,
wisteria,
I see.
azaleas,
All right, sure,
southern,
sure.
blah blah blah. White lily flower.
Is
was
that a
very
flower
I know
or
this.
is that?
I know this one.
Okay, go
That's
ahead.
the only flour to make biscuits with. I've read
Yes.
multiple articles about it.
Wow.
True. It's very upsetting.
White lily flower?
Yeah.
Can you even get it away
No.
from the south?
I think it's hard, and actually, they closed down the plant that
See,
had the best.
this is what
white
bothers
lily
me about
flower.
regional shit like this, though. Because it's like, you can't just say that's the only way to make biscuits and then not provide an alternative. Because then you're just saying no one outside of this region can have biscuits.
Well, you can have biscuits; they're just not as good.
Okay, that's fine. So say that. Don't say, like, this is the only way to make biscuits. Just say it makes the best biscuits.
Is White Lily like the brand?
Yes.
Okay.
It's made
Yeah.
out of lily flowers. It's
Well, I
ground up
didn't
lily
know.
flowers.
Well, I was like, are there lilies
Oh,
involved?
that'd be
or is,
cool,
Oh,
though,
no.
right?
Is it like White Lily because it's like very white flower?
It's very white flower.
Interesting.
Okay.
I wonder where they got that idea.
Well, it was a big deal to be able to make flour. Anyway.
No, I know.
all right.
And actually
'cause
having-
whole wheat
I
flour
know.
was all they had for a long
And
time.
have it. I was
Okay.
going to say, actually, that is a thing. It's a class.
I'm just going to say their references to fried chicken were a little heavy-handed. I know you know what fried chicken is,
I do know what
as
fried
well as
chicken is.
biscuits.
Although I did not know I need to be concerned about their distance from each other, apparently.
Oh, for cooking. Oh, yeah.
All right.
And low
so it'll.
heat.
Well, I don't know low heat, but she probably just had the heat on too
high.
Okay.
I thought she put it on way too low after he said something, but it does take like 20, 25 minutes to cook.
Why do they have to
Takes
be
a
away
long
from
time.
each other so far?
So they don't, if you crowd the pan,
Then what happens?
you know how they always tell you don't crowd the pan?
I don't know. What happens when you crowd the pan?
Just things don't cook as well. They're not going to get crispy and well done. They're
Oh,
just too
okay.
crowded in there and
Stick
it can't
together,
get hot.
maybe?
And you need it to get hot all the way around.
Oh,
And
like
if
a
they're
certain
crowding
city?
each other-
Like a certain city in Georgia?
Shut up. Shut up. Iced tea. They mention both.
I'm
know what
aware
iced
of iced
tea
tea.
Yep.
I know you know what iced tea
Heard
is.
of it.
They not only serve iced tea, but she has a whole line where she says, "Wouldn't so much as offer me an iced tea."
Ooh.
Boom. Okra. Long, loving scenes of okra. Krispy
So now
Kreme.
we've
Good
moved away from
Lord.
schools and now we're on to food.
Food, yes.
I got it.
I just told you I wrote down all the heavy-handed Southernisms.
I love it.
That's all I ever promised you.
Yeah, and we're loving
and you
this.
have turned it into some source of disappointment.
We're turning it into a source of joy and fun for our listeners at home.
No, I'm
Who
having
are all
fun
like,
and
I know what
disappointed.
food is.
Yeah.
I know what food is.
If you know what food is, call us at 612 A
Hey?
089 Scudda Do Scudda Hey. Or just go to totesrecall.com and find it. Someday we will remember, or I will remember, to write down the phone number before we start recording so one of us can actually say it out loud. But just use a song.
How to do.
Just use a song. It's obvious.
A
089
Scudda
do Scudda Hey.
That's for.
Krispy Kreme, they basically do a commercial for Krispy Kreme.
Is that
and their
a-
coffee is not that good.
Did that
That's
start
a
out
Southern
in...
donut?
In Atlanta.
Oh, did not know
I
that.
love Krispy
Fun
Kreme.
fact.
Yep.
How do you feel about their coffee, though?
I've never
I
had their
think-
coffee.
I think it's just real basic coffee.
Yeah.
It doesn't have chicory in it, which I appreciate. But it's just, it's
Do
good.
most
It's fine coffee.
Bakeries in the South have chicory in their coffee?
No, but I would say most basic coffees, like when you go to a diner or something, you're like, oh man, they put chicory in this to
Just by
hide
default.
how bad this coffee is.
Got it.
Yeah. They just reference Macon multiple times, which is fine. And Harry Norman Realtors.
That's a thing?
Yes, The house that my family bought was sold by Harry Norman Realtors.
Wow.
I saw that sign and I squealed aloud.
Are they the Edina Realty of Hotlanta?
I don't know. It made me wonder, like, how long Harry Norman has been around.
I mean, apparently since at least 1973.
I mean, well, at least, I don't know, the 2000s, I think. Anyway, Harry Norman, it's sort of like the Winn-Dixie of real estate.
The Piggly Wiggly of real estate?
I don't want to go that far.
Oh, okay. I apologize to Piggly Wiggly. Great.
Oh, and the final note is that the most realistic moment in the whole movie is that the power goes out when there's an ice storm. That is so real.
Yeah?
Like,
Well, there's like no infrastructure for it, right?
'Cause
yeah.
it's usually
No, I was
the
talking to
opposite
my
temperature.
husband about it. Yeah, okay. And I was like, oh, man, we should get our friends these batteries so that they can have them for every time the power goes out. And he's like, what do you mean every time the power goes out? I'm like, oh, it goes out all the time in the winter. He's like, what? Is it not a modern city? And I realized the power never goes out in Minnesota because people would die. But in Atlanta, they're like, some power lines went down.
Yeah. No, here in
You'll
Minnesota,
make
we've
it.
got thick, insulated power lines.
Or buried power lines.
Or buried
so the
power lines.
Snow doesn't even affect them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a modern miracle because I really, every winter, I'm like, wow, the power hasn't gone out once. This is incredible.
Would it ever snow that much? I was like, that's a lot of snow. I would not picture that much snow in Georgia.
Like once a year. When I was
Okay.
growing up, it was once a year that you would get a pretty good snow. Maybe twice, but it's pretty rare.
Well, probably even more rare now, right?
Right. Although I think sometimes it's just more extreme, like that big ice storm that people made fun of unfairly happened the day after it was 60 degrees outside. So sometimes it's just really
crazy stuff.
just
Sometimes it's
like
hot
the whole
Atlanta.
planet.
Sometimes it's less hot Atlanta.
Snow Atlanta.
Oh,
I-
better.
Snorja.
Well, they call it
Snorja?
Snorja.
Snowerja.
The joke was Hothlanta.
Oh,
It snowed a lot.
that's pretty good.
That's very
Yep.
good.
Kathleen Kennedy,
you.
write to us or give us money or whatever the bit usually is.
There was no utterance, unfortunately, of "this cake sucks," which is a bet Beth and I made.
Because at the end,
decide it would be this cake sucks?
at the end, he feeds her pie.
Yeah.
And
it
if
just-
she
you
was
thought we were
being
getting
fed
close?
cake,
She'd be like, ugh.
she'd be like, "Oh, this cake sucks."
Okay.
And that would have been the end of the movie.
If the movie,
That was the original ending.
yeah, if the movie had the exact same like touching score and slow fade to black, and she just said, "This cake sucks," I would have been delighted.
It would have been even better. Eats a bite of pie, then says, "This cake sucks."
Oh, but then you'd be like, "Oh no, she's having one of her bad days."
Oh, levels, the intersection.
What also does not get mentioned, I was grateful for, was Peachtree Road or any peaches or Peachtree at all.
I don't think there was
That
even
was
a peach
merciful.
visible in the film.
There's a
It does
license
say-
plate that says
Yeah, the
peach
license
state.
plate.
Oh, sure.
Ugh. Never mind.
But maybe
Well-
that was historically accurate.
Yeah, wasn't that probably the actual license plate at the time?
I'm sure it was.
Well, bag on Snorja then. Don't get mad at the movie for that. Get mad at the movie for all the other shit we were talking about.
Snorja.
Did you have any Wikipedia facts, Molly? Or are you too busy writing down Southernisms?
Just that the playwright went to Druid Hills High School,
I have
which
some
was
Wikipedia
a
facts.
party high school.
It's time to
Time
get
for what?
some Wikipedia facts from Dan
Dan.
instead of Molly. Usually Molly has more facts, but this time Dan has facts instead. It's Wikipedia with Dan.
Thank you so
Quick
much.
reminder.
Yeah, thank you.
There's one more person needs to donate $3, and then everyone will have donated $3 to vote on whether or not we only or never do Wikipedia Corner. Additionally, now Dan's hat is in the ring.
Yes, exactly.
So
Thank you.
your additional $3 vote that was deciding if Beth would do Wikipedia Corner, there's now a third poll / donation
Yeah.
drive
Yep.
to see if Dan will then steal it from Beth if she is able to steal it from Molly. Again, we are one patron away
Yeah.
from all of those.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. Get on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so as we've discussed, this was based on a play. It was apparently part of the playwright's Atlanta trilogy, in which he wrote 3 plays about life in Atlanta with certain characters or something. It deals with Jewish residents of the city. So, like, all 3 of them deal with Jewish residents. Morgan Freeman was the original Hoke in the 1987 off-Broadway performances.
Oh,
I did read that.
That's fun.
That's cool.
I thought
have a fact.
that was the most interesting thing, is that Morgan Freeman was actually the original
Yeah, that is interesting.
Broadway guy, which actually makes me feel better about it, because like at first I was just like, oh god, they're making Morgan Freeman do this like really like stereotypical like dialect, and it's making me uncomfortable. But like, I guess it's a little better if he originated the role on stage, but also it's still probably one of the reasons that people are like, I hate this movie, it's racist. It's because most of the black characters kind of have like this very particular way of speaking, and that's the only like version of like that's the only kind of black character present in the movie, and I could see how that could be.
Yeah, there's one businessman sitting behind Miss Daisy at the MLK speech.
But then I almost wonder if that's just like, I don't know, or is it even just, is it a businessman, or is it just like a deacon or something? Right?
It was a businessman.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure based on what he was wearing and stuff. I was like,
Sure.
there's like the tiniest nod.
Yeah.
To that. I went down a Wikipedia rabbit hole for Esther Rolls, which is why.
Molly is looking at Wikipedia.
No.
No.
No, there's no reason to do the song. Beth already did such a good song. But what I hadn't realized is she was first in Maude and then in the spinoff Good Times. And the original idea was that she would be a single mom. And she was like, no, there are
in this movie
in Good Times.
Oh, okay.
And she went to the writers and she was like, no, there are plenty of strong black fathers.
Mm-hmm.
This family has a father, or I'm not doing the show.
Ooh.
And they were like, oh, okay.
That's cool.
So that was pretty cool.
Very cool.
So it's really Wikipedia tangential.
I love
even by my standards.
Incredible dramatic use of peas goes to Esther. Esther?
Oh, yes.
Did I get that right?
No, Idella.
No, with the actor.
Oh, Esther. Yeah, you did.
I know he threw his microphone.
I figured, like, the way the scene was going, I'm just like, oh, she's totally going to die. I did not expect the movie to make that clear by a slow motion cascade of shucked peas going to the ground.
Yep.
And after Miss Daisy told her not to spill any peas.
Spilled them all.
A lot of, there were, I think ultimately that's maybe what bothered me about the movie, is that, like, if you consider, like, all of Miss Daisy's dialogue and how much of it is just, like, very rude and commands to her black staff, I don't know if it's completely redeemed by her saying, Hoke, you're my best friend, like 35 years later. Although apparently that was my other fun Wikipedia fact. Apparently that's basically how the play ends. Like when he goes to visit her in the assisted living place, and she basically like acknowledges that he is her best friend, and that is like the ending of the play. So that is supposed to be like this very, I mean, that is supposed to be like the crux of it. Like, oh, she admits they're friends. I don't know. Which, like, it seemed like it was kind of obvious to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot going on there. We didn't even really touch on the class issues of employee-employer that Dan gets mad about whenever housekeepers in movies get like told to come into events that aren't their job.
Yeah, I do get mad about that.
I don't know. I wish we could have like a cringe sound effect for every time I've cringed while describing portions of this movie.
Yeah. And like it wasn't like, again, like I feel like we've hit on this a lot. Like it wasn't like infuriatingly doing things wrong, but it was like upsettingly not doing them right enough. Is that fair? Is that a good way to put it? And again, I'm coming at this as being a middle-class white dude who was born in the 80s. So maybe this movie is incredibly offensive to other people whose experiences are different than mine. It was certainly not not offensive in some ways as a 2020 viewer.
Did you notice she went to Calhoun Elementary?
I did notice
Is that the same one?
Oh, yeah. When I moved to Minnesota, I was so confused that there was a Lake Calhoun.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that cannot possibly
Be the same guy.
be the Confederate
Yeah,
Calhoun.
yeah.
And it was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Not anymore,
Shocking.
baby.
Yeah, baby.
anymore.
Scott for life.
Scott. Local references podcast.
You love it.
You love it.
So anyway, if you're
foods.
not from Minneapolis, the name of the lake was changed to its original Dakota
Yes.
name,
which is cool.
Bedemakuska,
Did they
which is much cooler than Calhoun.
did they change the
Yeah.
name of the shopping center also named after him down the road?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
They're doing that.
Nice.
Yeah.
They
Good
said
for
they were
them.
gonna. Yeah.
Okay. Good for them.
Get on it, everyone else. Well, before we get to our final ratings of the movie Driving Miss Daisy, we like to read a review of our podcast in an impression of a character from the movie,
Oh, that's okay.
but we don't have one.
It's
So
probably
that's
for the best. Yeah.
Just as well. We could have done Dan Aykroyd.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Sure.
Ooh, I sure
yeah,
do.
there.
Oh, Mama,
have
I
really-
certainly need to wave
Ooh,
my
the
hat at this
textiles.
podcast.
I gotta go.
Could have
Okay.
busted out our heavy Minnesotan accents from earlier.
That's true. Hey, it's me, Dan Aykroyd. I'm a Georgian textile middleman. I'm 1966 Atlanta Business Person of the Year.
Hey, I've got less hair on top and more
Little
down
more
here.
down in the. I
in
mean, he didn't say
my
hair. He didn't say
guts.
it had hair down there. He said
Yeah.
I
More
have my
hair.
business hair down there. Really
my business hair
nice.
moved
Gave
to the
me-
lower extremities of my body, and that's why
I
I'm
did
so
all these
good at business.
textiles to cover
I-
up my.
We
my
make
pubic
merkins.
hair.
We make merkins. That's our industry. We don't like to say it out loud, but we make merkins. This is
I
Dan
had
Aykroyd.
no idea.
That's another area they didn't explore enough in the movie.
Yeah.
Like I really wanted. to
Also
see.
by Crystal Skull Vodka. That's a real thing that Dan Aykroyd has a stake in. Crystal Skull Vodka. It's vodka in a bottle that looks like a skull.
All right, our rating scale, as we all remember, is all y'all's.
Oh, yes, of course.
I see what you did there, Molly. You set it up for all of us to give this movie 0, since there's no all y'all's in the movie.
Whoa, like subliminal messaging.
Wow.
Very
wow.
clever. Very clever.
But Dan, you bet 4. You thought it would be a cringer, but charm?
Yeah, it was a cringer in many ways. And I don't think it was as charming as I was hoping it would be. Like, I think I'll be bold. All of the actors did fine. But like Morgan Freeman and Jessica Tandy especially were like, they were very good at they're very good at doing, I don't know, they're very good at what they were supposed to be doing, right? What they were given in this story. I think they were both very good. But I think the relationships, I had too many hang-ups about the relationship to be charmed by it. And I also want Hollywood to stop making movies like these because, like, Green Book is kind of a similar movie because I think it is also based on some guy's older relatives' experience
I believe that's true.
in interacting with a black man, and that also has won an Oscar. Although Sam Jackson handing that Oscar to the writer was maybe the best part of that year's Academy Awards. Anyway, 2 all y'alls. 2.5. 2.5 for Morgan Freems. Because Freems did charm in his way.
Freems did charm.
I'll stop talking. Beth, cut all this out.
Beth, you predicted 3.5. Probably some pretty good acting.
Did I?
That's what I wrote.
Okay. No, 3.5 sounds like that sounds right. I know I gave it a half because we
Yes.
talked about what the half stood for.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with everything Dan just said. I just didn't. I think because of the status between the two of them, I just never felt like they actually became friends or really learned much from each other. But the acting was good. But overall I didn't love it. So I would say also two all y'alls.
Great.
I predicted a 3 because I'm a coward, but also I overcame my fear about being a coward.
Okay.
So I'm not. Anyway,
Brave of you. You know what? You are so brave.
thank
to
you.
You are
have
brave.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gone with the 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agreed with everything everybody else was worried about and hopeful for, but also was worried it would be long. It did feel pretty long for me, 25 years long. Am I right?
You are right.
Wow.
Yeah, it just, I think as we've all been saying, it like both didn't do enough and did too much, and just I like it in theory, sort of, and in practice, not. 2.5. 2.5. Molly, you predicted 2.5 and had hope for it. I can't read my notes well. Sorry.
Wow.
That's okay. It's hard. I will say I did forget to give a nod to all of the interiors and exteriors, especially the very modern, cool kitchens.
Yeah.
And it was exciting to watch Jessica Tandy actually use one of those tiny desks that you see all the time in antique stores, and you're like, who would use this tiny desk? And she does. That was
Nice.
cool.
Great.
Or like a roll top? What did she have?
No, it's not a roll
No.
top. It's a
The
fold down.
secretary.
Just a little desk.
Are they different?
You see-
roll top's not a secretary?
Well, roll top's
Yeah,
got a
roll
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 top.
top has a roll top. The secretary, I think, just pulls down.
Yeah, just a
Oh.
flat. Just a flap.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just flaps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No roll,
Flapper
just
desk.
flaps.
Yep.
Flap desk.
Flap desk. I just struggle. Like, I want to be kinder to this movie than I feel because it could have been worse.
Yes.
Like, it definitely could have been much worse.
Yes.
I also want to rate my own ability to talk about what makes me uncomfortable about this movie at like a 1 or a 2.
Sure.
All y'alls.
I think that's fair.
Because I feel like as soon as this podcast is over, I'm going to open up any book or article and it's going to be like, here's the term for what you struggled for 5 minutes to describe.
Yeah.
Um,
Or there's
But
going to be
anyway.
an article that's just like, here is a article that is literally dissecting all of the things we're talking about in a much better way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're
I would
basically a
acknowledge
teen.
We're 4 white, non-Jewish people talking about a movie.
I think we can all safely. I think you can throw those 2 all y'alls at all 4 of us. I think that's fair. Maybe throw a 1 at me.
maybe 1.5. I don't know. Anyways, the point is, so I feel like, so then why am I expecting a better rating for this movie? You know what I'm saying? It feels cowardly because that's where we're headed, but it feels right. 2.5.
Okay, great. And I'd like to give 5 all y'alls
Oh,
to our
yes.
executive producer,
Yes.
Maureen.
Yes.
Yay!
Thank you for selecting this movie. And I had never seen it. I'd heard
neither.
about it. And now
neither.
I think we had an interesting, if naive, conversation about it.
Yeah. Oh man, I saw it 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I saw it 30 years ago. I saw it in theaters.
Wow.
That is
With grandma.
insane. Yes.
And all your other relatives, apparently.
Wow. Sorry that I just did the math. I'm still 35, so
5-year-old.
that
Of
really
course,
tells
yes.
you. Canonically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Only 35.
I also want
Canonically,
to give
we are all
5 all y'alls to Maureen, our executive producer.
Oh, yeah.
We definitely wouldn't have watched this without you, which is, I think, is a good thing. I want to say
I
that's
agree.
a good thing. It helped stretch our brains a little bit.
Yeah, instead of
Yes,
watching
we're
another
still
just
dummies.
dumb movie where just
I still want to watch Speed 2.
blows-
I mean,
oh,
we-
we're definitely going to watch Speed
Watch
2.
Speed. And I mean, I just want to point out that they don't have sex in the car at the end of the movie
Yeah.
and
Ooh,
crash
yeah.
it into a subway station.
That's true.
And I
So-
don't. I mean, we didn't. We didn't play our beloved segment. Did they bang?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Because
wow.
no, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
But I don't think
No
we did.
way.
I thought, I'm going to tell you though, I'll be honest, like when we were first going into this, I'm just like, is that where this is going?
No.
I did say, okay, I didn't say this in the first half, but when I was trying to describe what I thought this movie was
Mm-hmm.
before the podcast to another person,
Thought it was a rom-com?
I said maybe they fall in love.
I thought maybe
They
they were
did
going to,
not.
no, I thought maybe they were going to smooch in the ice storm, but no,
Oh.
He was just
Oh.
because they're in this
Hey, my
Gotta
body.
keep
cold
warm
house.
somehow,
Gonna build a fire.
It's probably
But no.
the 5th time that winter.
My whole raw bodies are so cold.
Who are you right now? Who are you trying to be right now?
What is that?
Robert Redford just came in. You both,
Ooh, miss.
you both look so cold over there. Yeah,
Right,
you
wait.
know what's hot is dancing on the sun. They call me Sundance Kid because I'm so hot in
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Are you presenting a hypothetical version of me where Robert Redford comes in and like tries to seduce both Morgan Freeman and Jessica Tandy?
Yeah, I think it's a really good scene.
Oh, I love that. I would watch that remake.
Oh, 5 stars on
Ooh,
that one.
my goodness. I just walked through all that slick ice and snow. I'm waving my stocking cap around. It's so cold. Also,
Wow.
Mr. Morgan Freeman, you should play the president of these fine United States at least 3 times in your career. I do think that would be quite a spectacle. But partially a spectacle because it seems so novel for so many decades. Do better, America. This is Robert Redford.
Sorry, did you give it a rating?
Oh, yeah, great question.
Did I?
Yeah.
No, did Dan?
When?
What?
Just
Yeah.
now, did you rate the movie?
I rated the movie first.
And I rated it before you.
Did you forget what just happened in the last 15
oh, my
minutes?
God, Molly.
Only 2 of us have rated Maureen,
this
our
is-
executive producer. if
Ooh,
that's
that
what
is
you're
true.
I said 5,
Oh.
didn't
Oh,
I?
did you?
When?
She's a 5 moon friend.
Okay.
Oh, that's very good.
Thank you.
That is very good.
Thanks,
Molly,
Maureen.
do you want to rate Maureen?
Yes, you're a 5.
Yeah, now at this point it feels weird not acknowledging Maureen as my mother. Anyway, love you, Mom. Thanks for your support.
Totes Recall is hosted by Molly Chase, Beth Gibbs, Dan Jaquette, and Dan Linden. Produced by Beth Gibbs. New episodes of Totes Recall drop on the 15th of every month. For more information and bonus content, visit us at totesrecall.com. Thank you so much for listening.